Alright, so I was watching this movie called Lucy. Classic joint, came out 2014 with Morgan Freeman and Scarlett Johansson. So basically, you got Norman when he's teaching his class or whatever like that. And he's talking about the capabilities of using more than 10% of your brain. We found out that dolphins actually use 20%. You know how to use their brain to detect sonar, but they actually do it naturally. Anyways, talk about the capabilities of man that's able to use more than 10% of their brain, but it's all hypothetical, you know, scientific research and stuff. And somebody asked him in the class, like, what if it was possible to use 100% of your brain? What would you be able to do? He's like, that I have no idea on. Now we get this lady by the name of Lucy. She's hanging around this dude named Richard. Now she's trying to get ready to study for some class or something like that. But she's been doing like little missions for Richard or whatever like that. And Richard needs her to bring this briefcase in to this building to talk to this dude by the name Mr. Yang. Now she's really not trying to do it. Richard said he can't be seen by him. So you're thinking to yourself, like, this sounds some shady shit, right? He's like, look, I'm gonna get $1,000 for you to deliver this briefcase. I'll give you $500 right now. So because he didn't want to, or she didn't want to, he feels like he has no choice. He straps her to the handcuffs with the briefcase, so he'll go in there and send it real quick. So all she's supposed to do is ask for Mr. Yang to come down and he gets the briefcase, that's it, right? The thing is, Mr. Yang comes down with his goons, Richard gets shot out of nowhere, he's done their dirty shit, and they kidnap her and take her upstairs to a certain room. Now they gotta get somebody on the phone to translate because nobody speaks English, they all speak Korean and Mandarin. So after they get that out of the way, Mr. Yang writes a number combination for the briefcase because she can't open it. Then he hides behind his team. They got like SWAT shields up and shit. So you think of yourself like, what the fuck is it there? They think it's a bomb or something? Because bottom line, Mr. Richards was supposed to send it to him, but they don't trust his ass. And they ain't know who she was, so they ain't trust her neither. But it turns out when she opens the briefcase, it's nothing but like this blue powder stuff. So then they pull some random junkie out of the blue and gets him to sniff it. All of a sudden he sniffs the joint, he starts laughing like, and then Mr. Yang just pops his ass out of nowhere, done deal dead. You're like, what the fuck? Okay, so when they originally got her in the room, she was seeing somebody in the corner getting duffed out, so she's already scared as fuck as this is. And after seeing this nigga get popped in blue powder, obviously, she's even more scared. They offer her a job, she don't want the job, all of a sudden she gets punched in the face. Next thing you know, she wakes up in this room, right, and she got this gash on her stomach or whatever like that, but it's not really a full-fledged gas, it just shows that something's there. So then they get adjusted, they bring in this room along with 3 other dudes. Then this intellectual European dude comes out of nowhere, basically she finally gets to talk to somebody who speaks English. And the reason she's got a gash in her stomach is because somebody put some drugs in there, something called CPH4. They basically use these 4 people as mules to distribute this stuff into other companies because the other 3 guys got it in their stomachs too. Next thing we know, she wakes up in this like cell or whatever like that. She's in like Madrid. So at this point we're thinking to ourselves, they're basically going to just be used as molds, you know what I'm saying, as mules. And once they finish their business to get it across the country, they end up killing them anyway. So there's one guy's in the cell just fucking with her, whatever like that. He's trying to touch her titties and everything. She's like, get that shit out of here. He ends up slapping her and kicking her in her stomach multiple times. The guys to break her up and like they leave back at her cell. Now this is where it gets crazy. Now we get these little explanations from Norman every now and then. Talk about cells to reproduce other cells. Bottom line, I'm gonna tell you why this is important. Because when she got kicked in her stomach, some of the drugs got released into her and all of a sudden she's about to start spazzing out. Apparently this type of drug has unlocked certain parts in her brain. And now she's thinking on a more calm and conservative level and trying to figure out how the fuck to get out of there. Basically, and unlock the cell core parts of her body that she wouldn't have been able to use regularly. In layman's terms, right now she's using 25% of her brain instead of 10. So dude comes in, he's trying to act like he's seducing her and all this other stuff, and then she finds a way to flip and make the smackdown on him and gets out the chains, gets the gun that he had, gets out of the cell. She's in this restaurant, she ends up popping the 5 dudes that's in there. She didn't even feel that she got shot in her shoulder. She gets a bunch of guns that stashed away, puts it in a bag, digs in her own shoulder, just pulls the fucking bullet out. I'm like, what? Then she gets a taxi, he's like, yeah, take me to the hospital. Now when she gets to the hospital, you think to yourself, she couldn't speak a lick of Korean, Mandarin, Chinese, none of that stuff. She's looking at the signs and automatically, it registers in her brain exactly what it says. She goes to this one room, you know what I'm saying, they supposed to be operating or whatever like that, but she just busts in that bitch. She looks at the charts and then duffs the guy on the goddamn seat, and then she's like, yeah, he would have died anyway. She's like, yeah, the tumor reached her spine and messed up his cortex. I'm like, what the fuck? She figured that out looking at a chart for like 10 seconds. So basically, he needed a doctor to take the drugs out of her system. He does his job, he's able to get the bag out of there. While he's doing this, she borrows the doctor's phone or whatever. Then she ends up calling her mom. And she starts explaining a whole bunch of shit that her mom wouldn't understand. She's like, yeah, I remember the taste and touch of like, you know, things that happened years ago. Then she says she remembers pulling on the Siamese cat's tail that was soft or whatever like that. And the mom's like, you can't possibly remember that. You were only like a year old. But she tells her she loves her and hangs up the phone. Afterwards, she goes back to Mr. Yang's building, starts lacing up a bunch of niggas, and catches his ass slipping, getting a massage or whatever like that. So you know what she does? She brings out some knives, puts some shit straight in his hands. But the thing is, she didn't kill him. So why is that? Because she wanted to read his mind and figure out where the other 3 guys went. So she basically puts her fingers on his head and literally reads his mind. At this point, she's using like 30% of her brain. She finds out all 3 dudes went to 3 separate spots. One went to Berlin, one went to Germany, and one went to Rome. She calls up this police station and talks to this dude by the name of Del Rio. Now she wants Del Rio to find these 3 guys and get them in custody or whatever like that. Basically, so they got the drugs taken out of their stomachs. But of course, he doesn't believe her at first, and then she's like, look, your name's Del Rio, pick up the red pen and write this shit down. Of course, he starts looking around for cameras. She's like, no, there's no cameras. Just hurry up. We ain't got much time. So he does what he does. He rounds up all these guys before they're even able to get out of the countries. The one that was going to Rome tried to get away, but he got caught too. Of course, Mr. Yang's guys been keeping tabs on all this shit that's going on. So he's like, what the fuck is this? Now, at this one point, Lucy had stopped past her apartment. She was talking to her friend, I guess her roommate or whatever, some lady named Christy. She's using the computer like dumb fast, like literally retaining all the information that's in there like within milliseconds. But she's actually getting information on the dude Norman. So she calls Norman and tells about the dilemma with her brain and everything like that. Now, of course, Norman is kind of like really not believing it until she accesses his TV from the hotel just so she can see her. I'm like, what the fuck? Then she shows him she can actually access his phones, computers, his tech, like all that stuff. It's just like, okay, now he's a believer. So basically, she knows her brain is rapidly increasing. She's thinking to herself, she's probably not going to even live for the next 24 hours. So Lucy wants to meet Norman at one of the research facilities around about 12 hours or whatever. So basically, Del Rio at this point lets Lucy know, because Lucy's on a plane right now. He lets her know they got all three guys or whatever like that, and they're about to take the drugs out of him. Now, while she's on the plane, she's losing control of herself, and you're thinking to yourself, can the people actually see what's going on with her? Because it feels like her ligaments are like falling over or whatever. Like, it's crazy. She ends up locking herself into one of the bathrooms or whatever like that. And I guess without a choice, she ends up sniffing more of the drugs to keep her from losing control. I'm like, yo. So after she touched down, she meets with Del Rio, and they get the car, and they're like, shit, we gotta hurry up and get to this facility or whatever like that, because Mr. Yang's people is not gonna be far behind. So the police are supposed to be guarding these three men. All of a sudden, we see this dude by the name of Cho, Mr. Yang's right-hand man. Mr. Cho ends up getting two of the bags out of the man. One of the niggas Rome tried to run or whatever like that, and he ended up getting bust. But right before he got the third bag, Lucy showed up, and at this point, she's using 50% of her brain. Now, I got to get to a situation before this. There was a situation where she was on the news because she, she yanked a couple of Mr. Yang's boys. So at that point, they were trying to arrest her. And at that point, she had somehow passed out and ended up in the hospital. Now, when she was about to leave out the hospital, they had put guns to her or whatever like that because they're thinking to themselves, there's no way she even is supposed to be able to wake up. And she's only been out for like 5 hours. The stuff that she had should have kept her out for like a full day. So as she's about to leave, everybody got guns drawn on her, including Del Rio. And she just turns around. She's like, waves her fingers. Everybody passes out except for Del Rio. And then she's like, look, I need you to come with me. We ain't got time. She took the bullets out of the gun just by waving her hand. I'm thinking to myself, Del Rio, just put the gun down, yo. All right, so now he caught up on that. Now we at the part we get to the hospital. And at this point, she's using 50% of her brain. Actually, about 55. So Mr. Yang's henchmen acting like they want to smoke. I'm like, Lucy just flicks her hand, the guns go across the ceiling, and then the boys go up in the ceiling. And then Cho's just look at her, he's like, oh shit. She just takes the briefcase, he's just stuck there. She ends up getting the last CPH-4 bag out of the guy that was supposed to go to Rome, whatever like that. Now they got all three bags in the container, including her bag too. And now she wants him to hang on to her. Now, why is this? Because they're both about to go meet up with Norman. He went to one of the research facilities instead, but she already knew where he was going to be at, so they ended up meeting up there. So he basically tells Norman, like, look, I'm not going to be able to live long, so what I need you to do is to tap into everything and the resources inside of my brain. The thing is, she's going to snort all of it. So you're thinking to yourself at this point, like, she's so powerful, she can pretty much move things on her mind, she can do all this other stuff. What does she need Del Rio for? Then she had gave him a kiss, and then she was like, I need to still feel normal. You know, Mr. Yang's boys gonna be coming soon, you know what I'm saying? She needs Norman and the professor to go through their mind or whatever. She needs Del Rio and the cop buddies to hold off Mr. Yang and his boys because she's got to fully concentrate on what she's doing in the chair. So Norman said at the beginning, the whole process of like cells is basically to reproduce into other cells. And I think what she's gonna do is spread her essence all across the computers across the world and, you know, expand knowledge to other people. Because what's the point of having knowledge if you're not able to share the info? So basically, they inject all the bags into her body. Del Rio and his boys are holding up Mr. Yang and his boys. It gets to a point where Mr. Yang is about to break down the door. And she's going through this state where she's seeing everything in Paris and Rome. Then she flips all the way to New York. And do you realize while she's doing this, she's like slowing down and speeding things up? That's right. She is controlling fucking time. She's looking throughout the planets and universes or whatever like that. Then she goes all the way back to prehistoric time, where she's actually touching dinosaurs, having face-to-face conversations with prehistoric monkeys and shit. And at this point, she's at 90% right now. And at this point, she's able to shapeshift her body into anything she wants to be right at the point, right? So her essence is like floating around the room or whatever like that. It's like touching all different types of computers. I guess she's trying to feed her information into it. And right before Mr. Yang is about to pop, Lucy is at 100% and then she just disappears. They're like, where did she go? And then Del Rio comes in out the blue and bangs off Mr. Yang. He's done dead as shit. And then Del Rio asks, like, where the heck is Lucy at? And then the essence of her that's like strangled around the computers, it spits out this flash drive to give to Mr. Norman. He grabs it, the essence disappears. And then Del Rio picks up his phone, he gets a text message, sees Lucy's face, and it cuts off and it says, I'm everywhere. She basically became a wealth of knowledge to spread across the nation. Bottom line, this movie was informative, wild and crazy, and dangerous. But if you ever get to see it, check it out. Lucy!